to learn how to access these systems, how to submit electronic bids, how to use the iSupplier portal that enables you to look at your payments, your orders, and your supplier code as long as you are registered into the iSupplier portal. That is the methodology that's used to enable you to do your electronic bidding and look at the e-solicitations. So how many vendors are sitting here today are already in the iSupplier portal? Yeah, what's your company name?
Perry and Associates.
Perry, you?
Shuttle Contracting.
Okay, great. Not you yet? Okay, forthcoming then. But the first page that we like to show you is what we call the eProcurement microsite. On this microsite, we have going across the orange ribbon, we have home, which is the home page that you're looking at right now. The next one is login and registration, current bids and solicitation opportunities, online training. Delegates is only for our delegate agency departments usage, and then of course our help. So our first page lists that as an introduction to eProcurement, that we have implemented this new digital process. And this digital process, again, which is still paper as well, but we have moved forward to the digital process where you can look at an online solicitation and you can bid from it as well. We currently have 60 plus e-procurements in the hopper right now. It is our endeavor to start it and finish it from soup to nuts. And so we've already completed some e-solicitations where it's already went out for award, signature to award. So we're very excited about that. And so right now we have commodities, we have small orders, we have construction for our regular construction bids as well as aviation. Forthcoming, we have RFPs and queues and task orders. So we're quite excited. It's been now 2 years maybe now, and so we're moving forward. So we're moving right along, and we're very excited about that. We're in the new millennium with some other companies. Next is how we'll show you and discuss about login and registration. Now, at login first, again, you must be a registered vendor in order to use the eProcurement system. So if you're already not registered, then you must register here. And at registration, it'll just ask you a few questions, and you respond, you answer the questions. That form will go to a clerical division in DPS. They will review it, and just because you put it in, we can't verify it just yet. So you put in that information, it gets approved. You'll get an email back for those of you who are not registered with instruction on what to do next. And then again, an email will come back to that clerical unit, and they'll verify and review what you entered, and then you'll get approved. Once you're approved, now you're a registered vendor, and you can log in. The other methodology is if you're not already a vendor, right? If you are a vendor, currently a vendor, word of mouth, you're registered. You may tell one of your company friends, you want to register with the city of Chicago and you already have a vendor number, existing vendor number, then you want to request an iSupplier invitation. That's easy because once that comes through the clerical support, the support division email, they can then look up your vendor number and just send you an invitation, iSupplier invitation. So that method works very, very well. So now you're registered or you're interested in registering. That's where you go to login and registration. Here we want to look at current bids and solicitation opportunities. Our eProcurement bid and solicitation opportunities to select is here, if there are any at the orange bar. if there are any e-bids on what we call an abstract page, that is where you will see it. When it's a non-e-bid, which is pretty common still, although we do have 60 plus in the hopper, you would go to the non-eProcurement bid and solicitations opportunities page. And from there, you would have to submit your paper copy. But from eProcurement, we highly, highly encourage you to submit an electronic bid because as the rest of the United States of America is trying to save paper and trees. So this is what we call our abstract. So when you see an e-bid that you're interested in, you click on that orange bar, and this is your outcome right here. These are all the solicitations that we have in the hopper right now. Soon to be having a bid opening date. So what's current? Okay. So, pretty interesting. There's a lot of information going from your left to your right. So first, it depends on your interests. So if I was a vendor, I'm a company, I'm not sure if I want to do business with the Department of Aviation or if it's the event type, which is the contract type in procurement. So our events are commodities right there, construction, and small orders. The small orders contracts are, it used to be 10,000 and under, but now it's raised to 100,000. So know that when you see event means the contract type. Are you providing a good and service? Or is there a construction? What is it that your business is interested in? Hold please. So there's the solicitation number. There's the specification number. Here's your title that's preceded by the specification number. We have our advertisement date. That's the date that it hits the paper. We have our response date is the same date that it hits the paper. The supplier response due date is the date that the bid opens. And then your deadline for questions is generally always before the bid opening date, any date after the date of advertisement. What you need to look at and be more, cautious or conscious of is the solicitation number. Old school days, it was the specification number. New school digital days, it's the solicitation number, okay? So your solicitation number will be the number that you're actually responding and you're bidding on. And to enable you to see the solicitation, you can click on the eyeglasses that say details. Now, let me just jump to the chase right quick, because I get this phone call a lot. I can look at it, but I can't fill it out. It doesn't allow me to do anything but read. You must log in. You must log in. I'm sorry for the smile on my face because they'd be very anxious and excited, and I'll have you logged in. Okay, so it's just that simple. Log in first. So here is the details of the solicitation. So it's kind of sort of like the first page of the abstract that we just looked at, but now it's just put in a different format. Reads the same thing, it's just in a different format. Okay, but in order to look at the solicitation, you must click on the PDF. So two things: you got to click on the PDF to look at the solicitation, and you have to log in order to submit a solicitation. So depending on the speed of your computer or your internet speed, it can take up to 5 minutes for a page to load. Like some of those bid construction solicitations may take a while to load. So while you're getting the span, just let the span complete. Don't click on it because now you're hindering your own process. we're opening up the solicitation first, but do we speak to the pre-bid? Okay. So, generally, most often, before we go out, anytime after the advertisement, depending on the commodity, depending on the contract type, there is always a pre-bid. So your pre-bid solicitation information is right here, where it says pre-solicitation conference. Attendance is strongly suggested. That's because you have the using department of the commodity, of the contract type. You have the DPS procurement specialist who is assigned to that contract type to produce that solicitation. You have the engineers, if it's required, of that contract type, and all these people speak to the solicitation. So if there's any questions that you might have, any how-tos, any why-fors, any why-nots, that this would be the forum that you want to attend in order to ask your questions and get your answers before you submit your bid. Okay, so that's very important. So this is a PDF of the solicitation. And on it, again, it's front-facing, and it's similar to the items that you've already seen between the abstract and when you open up the PDF, the front page. So it informs you of the date and time of the solicitation. So you have up until way before 11 a.m. on the day of bid opening to submit your bid, but this informs you that bid opens August the 23rd at 11 o'clock. That your deadline for questions is August the 2nd before 4 p.m. Who your procurement specialist is in DPS that's working on this solicitation, contact number, and the date and time of where the pre-bid is going to be. Okay. And so if you have any questions or any questions pertaining to, you can submit your questions to, let me get the clarification here. Okay, so if you was a vendor that was interested in registering in order to submit eBid, then you would have to go to eProcurement and submit an email to the iSupplier, submit an email as I discussed it to register and or to request an invitation, because you must be within the iSupplier portal in order to submit your bid.
We will go through the documents and look at all the requirements. Right?
Yeah. Can we see them? Oh, you got to log in?
You're already logged in.
Mm-hmm. Garnet, you said. So again, these are all of our active solicitations. So, response status. Well, okay. I'm in training. So where she takes the mouse, I must go. So the response number, that would be the number. This is not the bid, so this is not the solicitation number. So don't get that confused. When you click on this response number, you're clicking for this solicitation number right here. So so write down your solicitation number when you come off of that abstract page so that you know which one you actually want to submit a bid on. So are we down here want to do, which are we? Yeah. Oh, somebody already did something.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is your response number. So once we submit something, you'll see how that works. And so your response status is active, which means it's open and available for you to submit your bid, or resubmission required, which means that, yes. So here's our solicitation number here. Single digits, no comma behind it, right? Once you get to a comma behind your solicitation number, comma, and another digit, that means something happened. Addendum, clarification, amendment. So that's why a resubmission is required, because you must respond to the fact that I acknowledge that I received something from you, and until I open it right here, actually you have not responded yet. Once you open it, it could just be a blank page, but it's not. It's going to be something of information. May not be an amendment. It may not be an addendum. It could be a clarification. We changed the line or something. And then once that happens, then you'll go to active. But until you, because, not to confuse you, this response number has already been used by this vendor. And so because they've had from 1 to 4 something occurred, and so now there's 5, and so now they must open this up in order to become active. And until you do that, you're not ready to bid. Until you do that, so look at your response status when you're into the solicitations.
I just want to add, so Pam is right. So active is what you as a vendor would like to see. Active, that means you actively submitted a bid on behalf of your organization to the City of Chicago. Now, the City of Chicago nor other vendors are able to see your bid.
Correct.
Until the day of the bid opening, right? And only the City of Chicago can see it then. Mm-hmm. Other than that, no one else can see it. So you want to see or want to have an active status as your response, as Pam said. Again, resubmission meaning you actively went in and did something, but the city, while you submitted your bid, the city went in and did a clarification or addendum. And so if you have had an active response prior to this, that means that active response is no longer valid, and you must acknowledge all addendum, clarification, what have you, from the city, yes, until we get an active status again. Okay? All right. So just want to clarify. Did you have a question?
Question, right?
Yeah. So when you have to, once they have come, you go back in. Do you really have to just check things off and be like, yeah, I read this, or is it a whole process of resubmitting all of it?
All right.
Oh no.
Great question. So,
you will not have to resubmit everything. It's just basically acknowledging the fact that you read it and you're okay and you still want to bid. Okay.
Yeah. Nope, nothing to fill out. There's nothing to fill out.
So,
it's just an acknowledgement of whatever has suddenly occurred with that solicitation.
Correct.
Okay, next. Okay, so there's different methods of searching. I'm not sure if we have an example for you today, but you can search by its title. Now the title is not just the specification number, but it's the spec and the description of the solicitation. So you can search that way. You can search by the number. Would that be the solicitation number? You can search by your solicitation number. So are you testing? Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So we're searching by the solicitation number. You put your number in the field. First you select your number. You select from the drop-down menu what you want to search by. We're searching by solicitation number. You enter that number. You hit go. Well, it says requires submission. Mm-hmm. A lot of information right here.
Yeah, it closed. That's why.
Okay. We
We
did that already?
Uh,
We did that one already?
yeah, we closed it. Sorry.
We're in our testing environment, so what actually has happened in production, it may not be here.
Yeah, we closed it. We're
And we're in Garnet. If we were in J, we might have, okay. Yeah.
that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll go back. I'll go into the back.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we do need it in production.
If you want to do that,
So we want to do a live demo for you so that you know we can help your brain a little bit when you get in there and see what it all entails to submit a solicitation. Have any of you submitted a solicitation to date yet? No? Okay, great. So as a vendor, once you have registered, you received your password, and your password, you can now log in. Once you're logged in, you get these two, what we call here, DPS and FMPS, our responsibilities. And we are acronym heavy. DPS is our Department of Procurement Services, and FMPS is the system for which we use, which is our financial management purchasing system. And so once you're in here, you have two responsibilities as a vendor. You are able, this is City of Chicago iSupplier portal with invoice creation. Now what this does is could you click on that right quick? What this does is this enables you, the vendor, to look at your orders. You can look at your shipments. You can you can go to admin. You can go to finance. Now, each one of them tabs are important to you as a vendor, right? But what's most important to the Department of Procurement Services is that we've enabled the vendors to have the ability to update their supplier record that's within the city, our database. So at the admin tab, that is where you will find your vendor record. So this is the vendor record for KWM Paints. Please go to address book. So these are the addresses that is in our database for your company. You as the vendor, as long as you have access, and we'll look to see how that looks, you are able to make any changes that's necessary. We encourage you to make the change because you can. The other method to do that would be contact the vendor who you're working with, who you're working with, and say, we changed our address. So you got to send them a chock full of information, letters, emails, all that. Here you're able to do it yourself. In the clerical support unit, an email will come. We'll get a ding to know that something has occurred within the portal, and we can go and verify it and approve whatever changes it was that you make. Some changes will not be approved. What will not be approved is if you do not have an alpha site at this address name right here. Because you might just, you don't know what to do. You're only filling out a form. It says address name. You don't really know as a vendor what the city is looking for. We're looking for an alpha. But what we find is that the vendors will put their vendor name there or a street address, anything that can identify them. And so when the clerical support unit or myself, when we see this, we change it to an alpha site. So please always use an alphabet. Even if you use D, and we see it, we'll put it in its chronological order or alphabetical order. So that's that. So when you want to update, you come here to the pencil, and it allows you to add all that. So usually right here, you see where it says address name? A, right? It's in the body of here when you get ready to, when you need to change it. So if it's anything like we seen one, I recognize one said headquarters. Yeah, that means the vendor entered that. And so it needs to be changed to an alphabet. But this is how you do your changes. And if you want to put a note, we'll receive your note. And then you hit save, and we'll get a ding. And it enables us to see what you did and approve it. Please go to contact directory. So here, you can, if you already a registered vendor already, you can add all the rest of the vendors in your company that you want to have access to the portal. This enables you to do that. So we have first name, last name, supplier name, phone number, email address, very, very important. The status is current, but this right here tells us that you have a user account right here. So we look at your user account, click update. And if there's any changes that need to be made to that original user, you can make changes here to the user. Hit cancel. And when you want to add a user, you want to add, just go to create and add your new user. Put in their email address here, and then click that box, and they'll be a user now. They'll get the same thing that occurred for you as user will occur for them. They'll get an email from Workflow Mailer, follow the direction, everybody's happy. Okay, cancel. To look at your company's entire profile, go to company profile. Scroll down. What we're looking for is this FEIN number off the top. We're looking for that. If it's not there, we may ask you to send a PDF, just so that it's on file for us. Okay. A PDF for the W-9. I'm sorry, send us a copy of your W-9. Scroll up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that completes that. You can look at organization. Yeah. All right. Similar to, it's changed. Okay. It's similar to the company profile. What happens, I find, is that, the mind of the vendor. If they think we need to know, they fill it all out. Procurement doesn't need to know. Finance might need to know, but I wouldn't know what finance wants to know because I'm procurement. But they do fill out what they think we need to know. So that's all for the admin tab. Finance I can't speak to because we don't do that. That's the financial department, Department of Finance. Okay, so now you're at home. For our contractual vendors, you guys, you can't yet right now submit invoices, but you can view invoices if you are currently under contract with the city. Any invoices received have been entered by the using departments as they submit their pay vouchers to finance. So you can look at all the payments made, payments received, payments sent, and your invoices. But you cannot submit any invoices at this time. Only our delegate agency departments can. Home, where are we going? Okay. So now, the second responsibility that you guys have is online bidding. So we went over iSupplier with invoice creation. You have online bidding. You would click on sourcing. Click on sourcing homepage. Select which commodity or which solicitation you'd like to submit to. You want to do something brand new?
Every submission required.
Will this always show every active solicitation?
Yes.
Yes.
Great question. Yes. So all of the solicitation your organization had bid on, it will show that history and then their status of it. So for you would always want to see active, right? Mm-hmm. But because this is a fictitious vendor that we always use, we may have other statuses like resubmission required or draft, right? And so if you do draft, and we didn't talk about that earlier, but when you see draft only means that you went in and accept the terms and conditions, and then you just saved it as a draft, right? Once you did that, though, you as a vendor get populated onto our bid tab. Okay, so any notifications, any resubmission that is required, you will get notified. Okay, because of you went and acknowledged that, you will get notified of any addendum, clarification, an email notification from the system will say, hey, the city has done something. Please go and review and accept that. Okay.
So since Felicia, can you click back so we can see what happened? Okay, so now it's a draft, but at first it said requires resubmission. So click. Oh, was it?
Yes.
Because once then it had the warning. Okay, click there. Yes. It had the warning that says you have acknowledged all amendments to this solicit RFQ, and as I stated, to be considered for award, you must submit or resubmit all your responses to ensure that they comply with the changes. That's acknowledgement that you can't say I didn't receive it. It won't matter because if you don't acknowledge it, you can't complete a bid. You can't.
And
so that's I like the warning.
Yeah, and then so for this one, and this is production, and so because we went in as a fake vendor earlier and we submitted a bid, it said I acknowledged, but I never got a chance to resubmit. So as you can see, it just says I acknowledge, but you still see that it says require resubmission. And so what I did was I just went in and said, oh, yeah, okay, but didn't hit submit again. So you acknowledge and then you submit to get your active status. Okay. So this one actually closed on me or past the date where I can't do a submission. But here's one that we can do a resubmission.
Okay. Okay. What's in the drop down? Because it says that addendum 1 bid opening postponed until August the 21st.
So what this is telling us is that our bid went out, was extended out. See that addendum? And so it's saying, do you want to create another quote since you have more time? Mm-hmm. Right? And so you say yes. Because even though you acknowledge it, it still is going to say, hey, you need to add something. You need to do another quote. Although you may not change anything that you did, which I didn't do anything. I just pretty much saved as draft. But you would have just enter all the information, then re-add it in there. Or, not re-add it in there. Just acknowledge that it's okay, and then you continue on. But because when I first did this, or when we first demoed this, we just saved it as draft. And as you can see, it says require resubmission because we had put on an addendum. So I'm just going to still say save as draft. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it is a live one that we have not had the pre-bid, and I want to make sure that the individuals that's bidding on this particular one will see the full soup to nuts on how to bid.
Which will show that at pre-bid. Okay, absolutely. Okay, so again, your response status, you see how variating it is. There's active, there's resubs, there's active, and then there's draft. Draft means that I've been in there, I hit some keys, I did some things, and then I saved it. So you know it's kind of like an active draft, kind of, sort of, right? That's not the terminology that we use, though, but that's what it is. Okay, what's next? So now you have questions. This is the electronic solicitation, and you have questions about some of the document items that you've seen within the solicitation. It's not a phone call response. It's not a phone call. You have to do it on the system, and it's called online discussion. So you click on the solicitation, and then you go to actions, and you select online discussions. Hit go, and this will go to all parties involved in this solicitation. Again, when you have a question about the solicitation that you're interested in, and you're reading and or you are even entering stuff, let's say you're in draft mode, and you're even entering things, when you have a question, you must go to online discussion. This is also transparent. It's transparent to the using department and to the specialist and anybody else that is within the online discussion board.
So when you post these questions, is it going to be done the same way when you ask them at like pre-submit openings where everybody will see the questions?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So,
right?
let me clarify. So, everyone meaning the city, and
everyone meaning like if you know, if I were to have to miss one of the meetings, they still will email you.
absolute, yes. So, say if you emailed us a question, the specialist gets the question from everyone, then they compile it, right, and then they send the question and answer out to all the vendors that's on the takeout list.
Takeout list, exactly.
Yeah.
And since the takeout list is electronic with this bid, then all of those vendors who are on the takeout list will receive your questions as well. That's why it's transparent, so that they can see your question as well, and the answer. Yes. So, haven't had a chance to do that yet. Okay. So we're sending it to the city of Chicago, and it is already, the system knows that you are responding to the RFQ with an addendum or amendment or something. And you put in your message. And if you had anything that you needed to attach, you would attach it here. PDF attachment. Hit send. Cancel. Okay. Because they've sent it already, so, okay, all right. So, are we going to do a live, or it's already done?
No, I can't, I don't know which, don't want to. Only if you
All right.
would like to give them, when the bid is really out there,
Okay.
give them the opportunity to see it live.
Okay. So, for an overview of the things that we've already gone over, you know that you must log in. You know that you must have a vendor number in order. You must be a registered iSupplier vendor in order to submit an e-solicitation. You see your solicitations by going onto the sourcing page once you are logged in, and you're able to see what are active solicitations that you are interested in submitting a bid on. You know that if there's an addendum or anything, that solicitation number is a comma with another alpha to let you know that you must acknowledge and or resubmit based on the status. You know that your statuses can be active, draft, or requires resubmission. Please remember that requires resubmission means that you need to acknowledge any addendum, amendment, or clarification. The solicitation number is the number for which you are bidding on. It's no longer our specification number. You can search for any. Now, sometimes, because this page does get full sometimes you may not see your solicitation number here. But you can, if you know that solicitation number, you can do a search and it will populate. It will populate on the table. Okay. You know that if you have any questions that you may want to ask about the solicitation that you're bidding on, that you have to submit an online discussion so that all members who are on the takeout list will be able to see and view and respond if necessary. Well, it's time. We had time. Yeah. So So before you guys can ask any questions, let me also tell you that we have online training material. So again, on the orange ribbon, can you go up a little bit? So you would click on the online training material, populates this page right here, chock full of information. I go there myself for my own business processes, okay? Because you can watch a video on how to do anything, most things that is conducive to registration and bidding, submitting your invoices, viewing your invoices, anything that has to do with the responses to the solicitation, your iSupplier information. This is strictly for delegate agencies, so don't go there, you get confused. And anything that you need to know about the solicitation right here as far as how to submit, what happens when there's a first-time addenda, which will be comma 1 to the solicitation number, how to reply in response, and it's all via video, so you get to watch it. In PDF when it's not a video?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay.
So the title is PDF. The video is actually, so the title of the subject is PDF version. If you just want to read it, and then if you want to see it, then you click on it.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
And
if you have help, if you need help. So what help does is it sends your question to an email box. So it depends on what your question may be. If it's anything pertaining to sourcing, homepage, and or the supplier table, then it's eProcurement support. That'll be received by myself and the clerical staff. Payments and invoices go to finance right here. When you become a contracted vendor, or if you currently have open contracts with the city, then you have questions about payment or how to submit your vouchers or how to submit your invoices and what happens at the payment process, you would send that to invoice and payments. If you forget your username and or log on, and you can reset it yourself actually, but the how-to part is right here for assistance. Again, for delegate agencies, they have their own secured mailbox, and that's what that is. Okay. And that's for people with disabilities. But you can also access, so the eProcurement support, again, still is myself and or the clerical support team, and that's where all of the most questions come to regarding iSupplier and or solicitations. If I can't answer it, I'll forward it on to the party that can. Okay. So for our part in submitting how-tos, do you have any questions, concerns? Let me get you a mic. All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So you said that some of them are still paper bid style. How long until it's full implementation? So
the minute that you open up that solicitation, and we highly suggest that you do electronic bid and not a paper bid.
So are you saying they're offered both paper and electronic? Because you said some of them are still paper style. So are all the ones in electronic still paper?
When it's not an e-bid, it's a paper.
So
it is a paper bid.
How long until? Is there a plan for switching to online?
Absolutely. So,
Absolutely.
The vehicle and heavy equipment and work services is due to go out by end of year.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. She needs Okay.
Sorry. The question was to how long with all the DPS contracts will go out, how soon will all the contracts be electronic, and again, vehicles and heavy equipment and work services should go out by end of year. So we were commissioned by the mayor and our commissioner, chief procurement officer, to have this done. So, but before we just throw it out there, we have to do some, some testing and making sure that it's okay to put it out there. So we did a lot of testing and piloting before we put these various types out to say, okay, we're comfortable, because we really don't want to put something out and it's not conducive or user-friendly to you. Okay. Are there any additional questions?
What's your interest, if I might ask? What's your interest, if I might ask? Uh-huh. Engineering. Oh, A&E.
A&E.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's coming up.
that's definitely coming out. And then task orders. So task order, we're hoping within the next month or so. But definitely A&E. That's next.
That's next. That's absolutely next.
Yes.
I see some federal contracts. Do we have to be an 8A qualified firm to do that? Or?
I'm sorry?
The federal contracts, some of them are federal contracts. Do we have to be an 8A qualified small business?
I don't know, but depending on... So I'm not 100% sure with that, but when those particular bids or something comes out, it actually is going to have what is needed, okay, to bid on it. So definitely be on the lookout and then read the scope of services and what is required. And so they may or may not, depending on what they're looking for. So don't count yourself out, okay?
Again, because the question was raised, you do not, when there is an e-solicitation, we highly, highly encourage you to submit an e-bid, but we're not holding you to it. If you have to submit a paper bid, it is accepted. What happens at bid opening is all of the electronic bids are read first, and then the paper bid is read, okay? Just so you're informed.
Yeah, no worries.
We are a testing firm, and all these solicitations, are they only for general contractors or subcontractors can do that also?
So for the most part, they are general, but if subs. So most of the time, when we hold a pre-bid, what I have seen is that when we hold a pre-bid, subs come, and so they get to mingle with the general contractor. And who knows? They get to select whomever, because it's certain requirements that they need to meet as a contractor as it relates to subs. So definitely come to those pre-bids. Yep. Great question.
Can a sub, if they like, bid as a prime? Although they're a subcontractor.
Yeah.
But now they may want to.
Yeah, may want their own. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, they can. They can.
Absolutely.
Again, we strongly encourage you to register at iSupplier, because this is the future. Although we still are accepting paper, at one point, at a certain point, the CPO will cut off paper, and then you actually need to do electronic. And so we just saying, hey, go on now. And then if you have problems, then we're here to help. But definitely go on and beat the rush on getting online.
How long until it's electronic only?
I don't know. It's their discretion. And so as soon as she says, hey, I think it's time, then we'll put that out there.
Okay.
But for right now, she encouraging us as we do the workshops and the pre-bid to let you know as vendors, is strongly encouraged for electronic, but we will accept the paper as well. Okay?
If you're not already signed up for, I encourage you vendors to sign up for DPS alerts. At DPS alerts, you get information on upcoming events that we may have, workshops, and the weekly bid opening listing, which is published every Monday. And so there are new bid solicitations and opportunities that are on the bid opening listing, and you'll get that automatically as long as you're signed up for DPS alerts. Okay?
And definitely encourage you to come to the pre-bids if you see something of interest. Okay? That's a lot of networking opportunities. and we actually do go through how to actually bid electronically. We apologize for that, the delayed one, and then not showing that step by step, only because those pre-bids are coming out fairly soon, and I want to be fair and show it at that time.
Well, this completes our workshop on e-procurement. Wish you all the success. Thank you.
If you would fill out the evaluation, and depending on that table that